like throw it at you guys.
Big flips.
Hi everybody. I wasn't nervous until now, and I knew that was going to happen, but I guess before I get started, I just want to let you guys all, actually, I want to thank you guys all for being here. I know it's not really a big deal for the students because you guys aren't in class right now, so how about this? I'll talk really slow so you guys can have the next class. But in all seriousness, this is a new territory for me. I've never done something like this, and I'm not quite sure how my body is going to react to it. So if I just randomly start crying, deal with it, it happens. If I start laughing, you might as well laugh with me. And if it looks like I peed my pants when I go sit down, I probably did. So just deal with it. But anyways, okay, so here I go. And I would like to look up at you guys, but honestly, it's very hard to focus, so I'm going to have to stare at my speech so that I don't mess up or I don't forget stuff. So I apologize right now for the lack of eye contact. There's going to be none, especially you, Mom. All right. This gym brings to mind a lot of memories. Some happy, some sad, but all a part of who I am today. Some of you may consider this a place where you hang with friends and catch up on last night's gossip. A place where teachers allow you to escape to for 20 minutes during your lunch break. Or a place where classes battle one another in an attempt to reign supreme as victors of Winter Carnival. Been there, definitely. Or even a place to cram in last night's assignments minutes before class begins. Been there, really. I could go on for a while. But as for me, this gym represents much more. All the endless nights of practice, ball in hand overhead, lap after lap after lap. Sweat, blood, bruises. Being yelled at to give one more ounce of energy to complete a play to perfection. Overtime, locker room pregame, halftime, and postgame speeches. Huddles, late night games under the lights, banging on the lockers with pregame dinners, then running out to a crowd of our most devout fans, cheering and ringing the bells. These experiences altogether only strengthen my pure love for athletics, a love that began as soon as I was old enough to compete. Over the years, playing goalie became an area of excellence for me. Nothing, in my opinion, could compare to the feeling of flying through the air to make a save. I always thought I had a little insight to how birds feel, free, weightless, flying through the air, or Superman even. Now, don't get confused when I say flying high. I'm not referring to the kind of flying high you get from a green card. It's more of a natural high, a feeling of complete freedom. Little did I know, though, that the thing I love, this is really annoying. Okay, I'm changing my mind. Little did I know that the thing I love the most would eventually cause my world to come crashing down around me. On September 12, 2010, during a collegiate soccer game at Maine Maritime Academy, while clearing an offsides ball, a member of the opposing team charged at me and connected her shoulder to the left side of my head. My next memory is waking up in the hospital, under bright lights, in a neck brace, naked. Yup, naked. At the time, the only thing running through my head was, where are my clothes? How did I get here? What hospital am I at? Oh crap, did Coach see me naked? I hope not. Hopefully they didn't roll me off the field naked. Soon, I would realize, though, that these concerns were very minor, and the next 2 years of my life would be filled with thoughts of greater magnitude. Thoughts like, will I ever play sports again? Or, what the heck's going on upstairs, up here? Or, will I ever have a sense of clarity? Life after brain injury. After being released from a short stay at Eastern Maine Medical Center, I spent several weeks in seclusion. I could no longer tolerate lights, noise, or people. I was incapable of understanding or processing the tiniest of details, like, for example, what to eat. I had no idea. I couldn't do it. Decision-making became nearly impossible. I thought I was going crazy. Woo! Yeah, t-shirt for that crazy man sitting in the row up there.
That case, I love her.
It took every ounce of energy to follow the simplest of conversations, and at the same time, I was dealing with the loss of something which had over the years become my identity, my life, soccer. I was told all these things would get better, so I assumed the best way to get back into life was to continue with the normal routine I was once so accustomed to before my accident. So I did. I got back into classes, and I made an attempt to jump back into a social life and work. It didn't take long, though, to overload my brain. This subtle overload caused an intense misfiring of the billions of neurons in my brain, leading to a severe mental breakdown. I became very violent, emotional, and explosive. I scared my family, but more importantly, I scared myself. I had no idea what was going on or how I'd managed to get where I was. I watched The Avengers the other day, and I think I'd compare it to the Hulk, minus the green giant controlling my body. I felt as though I'd become someone I didn't know or even really like. End result? A suite in the emergency room at Main Med and my own personal security guards. Not impressive, trust me. I'm well aware. So, already up to this point, I thought I was losing my mind. It was at this hospital visit. It was this hospital visit. I guess I'm not quite sure I was writing. It was at this hospital visit that I asked my mom to kick off my bed brakes and push me down the hall to the psych ward because I wanted to go into P6. It was just down the hall, I could see the sign. I said, Mom, it would be much easier if you just kick off the brakes and let me go to a padded room over there. I know it's crazy, but it's the reality of everything. Thank you. It was at that moment, life after brain injury became a reality, my reality. My days that were once filled with work, school, soccer, and a social life would from this point on be filled with doctor's appointments, confusion, anxiety, panic attacks, depression, meltdowns, headaches, meds, and an intensive outpatient program at New England Rehab in Portland. I started this program last May, almost a year ago. Wow, how time flies. Notice how I didn't finish that saying and say time flies when you're having fun? I'd be lying to you if I told you the past 2 years of my life were fun. In fact, they were the complete opposite. Pretty shitty. Oops. Pretty crappy, to put it bluntly. Pardon my French. My mom did the math one day, and she called me and she said, Min, since you started therapy, you've had over 30 appointments a month. I lived at the hospital without having a bed or a salary. And trust me, I tried to get both. I said, you might as well pay me for being here as much as I am, or give me my own office with a bed that I can go nap in. I still don't have either. My week would look something like this. 3 OT sessions with Susie, 2 speech sessions with Jan, PT with Judy, craniosacral therapy with Lorraine, recreational therapy with Kathleen, weekly counseling with Dr. Coonan, vision therapy, volunteering, mindfulness group, support group, and then let's not forget the checkups and other doctor's appointments that I had all over the state of Maine outside of this program. Appointments for my midline visual shift, a displaced jaw, and irritable bowel, all which were results from my accident. As you can see, this became my full-time job as well as my mother's. She became my designated driver. And no, not because I was drinking, but because I started having seizures and I spent a lot of time incapable of driving myself. I'm actually back to that point in my life where I'm not driving again. I just learned this morning from the doctors, so I'm trying to get over that, but I had a seizure the other day, and after you have a seizure, you can't drive for so long, so sorry, Mom. We're back together forever. That's what I feel like. Me and my mom. So, why am I sharing all this with you guys? Trust me, it's not to encourage all of you guys to go out and hurt your head or take someone out on the soccer field like we all would want to do at times in our lives, because I've been there, probably done that. In fact, actually, when the day's over, I'd like all of you guys to go home and get yourselves a large roll of bubble wrap, extra durable, extra bubbly, and wrap your entire body in it, and then refrain from popping the bubbles. This should protect you, I think. I'm definitely kidding, but there are a few things that I would like for you guys to get out of today that are really important. Most importantly, the effects of brain injuries. There are so many areas of our lives that are affected when your brain gets injured. It starts, your thinking changes. You have alertness problems, difficult concentrating, confusion, difficulty remembering. I couldn't remember, I can now because of therapy, but at one point I couldn't remember what I had done yesterday. I couldn't have told you what I had done this morning or what I have to do next. Attention problems, difficulty with decision making, difficulty with initiation, difficulty carrying out plans of action, behavioral changes. This is when I say that I have my own inner health, because I dealt a lot with different behavioral changes. Difficulty with self-control. You lose your ability to turn on and off your emotions. They just come out. That's why I sat here and said, I don't know how my body's going to react today. If I cry, I cry. I have no control over that. I'm learning to try to control it. It's not an easy thing to do. Impaired self-awareness, difficulty participating in social situations. They pretty much become your enemy because you want to kill everybody who's screaming around you. You're like, shut up. So many times, that's my favorite word. Shut up! Don't talk to me! Leave me alone. You have to deal with feelings of grief and of loss. You know, my love for soccer, I will always love that sport. I will probably never play that sport again. I'm okay with it now, but it took time to get there. Depression, low self-esteem, difficulty initiating conversations, difficulty following conversations, extreme fatigue, seizures, headaches, spasticity, swallowing problems. People who have had more severe head injuries even will have to learn how to walk again. Older people who have had strokes oftentimes lose function to part of their body. They have to learn to re-walk, they have to learn to re-speak, they have to learn to swallow all over again. It's serious. It's not something to really mess around with, because the effects of a brain injury are not fun. Secondly, be proactive when it comes to your health and protecting your head. Here are a few tips that I've learned over the past year with therapy and with all the people that I've met. Exercise boosts brain power. Aerobic exercise just twice a week halves your risk of general dementia. And it also cuts your risk of Alzheimer's by 60%. By exercising, you get blood flow into your brain. It brings the glucose that you need for your energy. And the oxygen soaks up all the toxic electrons that are left over. And it also stimulates different proteins that keeps our neurons connecting. So exercise is really important. And if you don't have, even if it's just once or twice a week, just to get your blood flowing, oxygen to your brain so you can think, because it sucks to not be able to think. Avoid stress. Stress can impair cognitive function, so avoid making decisions when stressed. If you're stressed, you're not going to make the best decisions. Save decision-making time for times when you're not stressed, for when you're thinking clearly, because you're not going to make the best decisions. If you're in a stressful situation and you're like, okay, I'm going to make this decision. No, don't even try. Avoid lack of sleep. If you sleep well, you'll think well. That's why all your teachers tell you it's best to get a good night's sleep before you take a test. I never really believed it until my speech therapist was like, yeah, you really should get a good night's rest. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. Why didn't they tell me that years ago? When you're operating a vehicle, whether it's a car, a bike, a four-wheeler, a snowmobile, be cautious. Be cautious of your surroundings, because it may not be something that you do. It could be something that's somebody else does that's going to affect the rest of your life. So always keep that in the back of your mind. It's a myth that our brains can multitask. It's just our brain's ability to quickly shift back and forth between different thoughts or different tasks. We aren't multitasking. That's a myth. So you really should avoid texting and reading text messages while you're driving, because that is actually more dangerous than driving while intoxicated. Well, just don't drink and drive. Wear your helmet. I know people probably tell you this all the time, but it really is important. Anything can happen. Your bike could turn the wrong way, and you're down on the ground, and you're waking up in the hospital, and you have no idea what has happened to you. Avoid being reckless. I was your age. I'm really not that much older than you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I am now. I know I'm getting old. But avoid being reckless. It may be cool to be reckless on your snowmobile, to be doing all these tricks, or your four-wheeler. Look at me, I'm on one wheel. Well, if you hit a rock, you're going to be on your ass, and you're going to hit your head, and then you're going to be in the hospital. It really isn't inappropriate. Really isn't worth it. It really isn't worth it. When you're playing sports, you know, you hear a lot in the news about people who have committed suicide or they've had a head injury and they just couldn't deal with life anymore. They couldn't deal with people. They've killed somebody because they've had an angry outburst. Those are all results of concussions and head injuries that these players have just sustained day in and day out and day in and day out. And they didn't know that that was going to be their life. And it's just really important to not go out on the soccer field or go out on the basketball court. I know, because I did it one day with the intent of, you know what, I'm going to play a little rough today. Maybe I can take this one out, or maybe I could take that one out. If I could just say one thing, and you could just, like athletes, whatever you're involved in, just be aware of what you're doing and the effects that it has on your body and on your brain. And then finally, I guess, why we're here, the title to our thing today, Never Give Up on Happiness. I'd love to share this one thing for those of you who are where I was at a year ago and simply need a little bit of encouragement. That light at the end of the tunnel, oh, hold on.
Love you.
Wow. Sorry, guys. That light at the end of the tunnel that everyone talks about, which you doubt you'll ever find. It's there. I promise. I'm beginning to see it. No matter what may be ailing you, hang in there. Seek help if necessary. Reach out to others who may need your help. You could be the reason someone decides to continue fighting instead of just giving up. A year ago I was in a really dark place, but since then I've begun to understand the importance of finding things in our lives that make us happy. By incorporating them into our everyday lives, we can become more grounded. So when our entire world seems to be falling apart around us, it gives us something positive to focus on. Playing guitar has been my escape over the past 2 years. When I didn't have the patience, when I didn't have the patience to deal with anything or anyone, I could always count on my acoustic. I also started volunteering places like at the hospital and with the inpatients at New England Rehab and over at Gary's house, where I've been able to stay for the past year while I've been getting outpatient therapy. I also designed these t-shirts, I'm not crazy, and on the back it says, it's just my head, what's your excuse? I forgot about that. Yeah, that's awesome. Hey, give a shirt to that kid in the blue shirt up there. Yeah, throw him one. He deserves one. I mean, who doesn't want to walk around with a shirt that says I'm not crazy on the front of it? It's pretty sweet, and I found that designing t-shirts and just adding a little bit of humor to it can really help alleviate some of the discouragement and some of what comes with having a head injury. I found a focus of starting a nonprofit organization, and you guys may have heard of it because Faith has been so kind enough to raise the funds so that we could incorporate it legally and it become a nonprofit. But it's called All Things Become New, and I actually think that I have, aren't these cool? I just saw them for the first time today. All Things Become New. Basically, it's self-explanatory. I came up with the name because all things became new after my head injury. I had to relearn everything. I had to learn to like this person that I had become, and I didn't realize, and I didn't really like for the longest time. But all things became new, whether I liked it or not. So I wanted to take that and help other people, because that's what makes me happy, and that's where I find my happiness, with being able to help somebody who has had a head injury and they just don't know how to cope with it. That's my happiness. Wow. Hello. I know this is gross, sorry. Hey Mom, catch. Do not give up. There's something out there for everyone. I was on Facebook the other day and I read this quote from the Brain Injury Support page. The reason most people give up is because they tend to look at how far they still have to go instead of how far they've come. I could stand up here and I could tell you everything that has sucked in the past 2 years of my life, but how beneficial would that be for me or for you guys to sit here and listen to it and to move on? But if I look at the past year and I'm like, okay, look at where you are right now. I can't tell you that I thought a year ago I'd be doing this, but this is where I am now. And it's so much farther than where I was a year ago. Therapy has helped my memory, and it's helped regulate my emotions. It's helped with my attention problems, and I could continue. Neuroplasticity is a wonderful thing. Really, it is. The ability to train and retrain our brains is an amazing, complex ability we have. But in my opinion, what good are these abilities if what you're lacking is happiness and you're lacking the feeling of self-worth? These values have become very important to me on my road to recovery, and in fact, I feel as though with life in general. Before I introduce Carol, I would like to leave you guys with this other quote that I read. I don't know who it's by, but I thought that I just read it and I was like, I just want to share that. Even if this quote just helps one person, but it's so true. You gotta take the good with the bad, smile with the sad, love what you got, and remember what you had. Learn to forgive, but never forget. Learn from your mistakes, but never regret. People change, and things go wrong. Just remember that life goes on. Life is always gonna go on. Things are gonna happen, but it's a matter of dealing with those things and moving forward and finding happiness, really. That's what it comes down to. And feeling valuable. Miss Murphy, you just made me smile. But anyways, that's my spiel. I had not gone through the speech fully before just now. But on that note, I would like to introduce to you guys our next speaker. Her name is Carol Starr. When my mom was having a hard time understanding what was going on with me, Carol took the time to reach out all the way from Portland. There were many times Mom would drive to Fort Kent on the phone with Carol, crying, not knowing if I'd be alive when she got to my apartment. The only thing she knew is I was in meltdown mode. Trust me, strange things can happen when someone is in meltdown mode. Carol, even just taking the time to listen to my mom, was able to make a difference in someone's life. I know my mom will forever be grateful for her support and guidance through this very difficult time. Carol will always be very special to my family and I. She had never been above Bangor until yesterday. And believe it or not, she even asked to go see the Allagash. So, hopefully she survives the weekend. I can't even speak today, sorry. Hopefully she survives the weekend. We're going to take her to the Allagash. But she's also a brain injury survivor, and she's been kind enough to come and share her personal experiences with us, as well as her journey to finding happiness. So let's give a nice Northern Maine welcome to Carol Starr.
Okay, 'cause I've only got 35 minutes. 35 minutes left.
She's never been above Bangor.
35?
Let's give a nice Northern Maine welcome to Carol Starr.
We also need to do a big round of applause for giving me